All right, we're getting ready for the big Vegas event, Night of Combat 2, and Kim Couture is an important part of it. But we've got some really hot-button topics in MMA to get into. You were involved, sort of, you were down there earlier this week in South Florida for the Elite XC card. First of all, I wanted to get into the issue, and this has really been underplayed. Gina Carano was a giant part of the card. You're out there with her, and I was shocked to learn the kind of money she made. And you know, you and I have gone back and forth on women's fighting, but even I was like, man, 25 or 35,000 for Gina Carano and 500,000 for Kimbo Slice. This is bad.
Yeah, I think, you know, I hate to say it, but I do believe that Gina is probably the biggest draw that they have at Elite XC. When she comes out, the crowd just goes crazy, you know, and when she wins, the house is on fire. I mean, people love her. I think her being on the American Gladiators really helped bring a lot more people that weren't watching MMA before to these venues and to turn on CBS that night. You know, I think she deserves to win more. Her pay, I think it was $25,000. I think she deserves more. She's consistent. She always delivers, and the crowd loves her.
Well, I mean, even if she wasn't winning and putting on great performances, she drove people to the TV sets. I mean, no one else aside from Kimbo is getting on Jimmy Kimmel and Craig Ferguson and magazines and just videos and, I mean, just general Hollywood feature shows. So that's why it's kind of shocking. And it shows that you've had a fight, but women's fighting not only has an uphill climb just to be accepted, but, I mean, it's hard to make a living and continue doing it and training full-time when you're getting nothing.
Yeah, $25,000. To some people it sounds like a lot, but when you have to go 6 months, sometimes 8 months in between fights, you know, $25,000 has to last you that whole time. And sometimes, you know, her travel is paid for some of this stuff, and sometimes it's not. So a lot of those bills, unfortunately, land in her lap. I think, unfortunately, she was signed with a different manager when she signed that contract, and she signed a long one. So whether or not we can go back and try to change that contract and up those numbers, we need to look into that. But she's definitely their biggest draw, in my opinion.
Now, were you at the weigh-in?
I was.
Tell us about the weigh-in, because obviously, I guess as another chick there, you could relate to it. That's got to be a little weird to have to strip down naked to make weight.
It is weird. I mean, I did have to strip down one time for weight, to make weight.
Where was this?
This was in Portland.
God forbid, you know? Can I ever beat these cards? I'm kidding, of course.
This was in Portland, and you know what? They had a female from the commission. They took me in the back private room. It was just me and the lady from the commission, a woman. And I did it back there, you know, and it was very private, and nobody got to witness it. And it was still pretty embarrassing. So I feel bad that she had to do that. I know that was very hard on her. She's pretty shy, believe it or not.
Yeah. Were you surprised they didn't try to bring her in the back and handle it a little bit differently? And I mean, the other thing we heard is like lots of guys, some of the guys weren't making weight either, and that the scale could have been kind of jacked up.
Yeah, you know, I think they could have handled it differently. It definitely put her in an awkward situation, and thank God her dad was there. I actually wasn't able to go up on stage. They were only allowing a couple people to go up on stage with them, so she would have much rather had me holding that towel for her than Jared Shaw, Scala in the background, trying to peek over the towel. So I thought that was pretty low, but...
Wait, so you're alleging that Jared Shaw was peeking? You know what, I thought I noticed that. He was actually peeking over the towel?
Yeah, he's got a little bit of an obsession with Gina Carano, as most guys do, so he was trying to sneak a peek. It was ridiculous.
All right, because Jared hasn't taken enough of a beating this week, so sorry, Jared. It's from Kim, not me. And by the way, to Randy, we will edit that out, right? The my mention of wanting to be there when Kim stripped down. Don't put that in. It's going to stay in? All right. Kim Couture is with us. All right, the atmosphere, because now we're getting more feedback. And a lot of this is, 10th hand by the time 5 days goes by. But you were saying it was just weird, and it's one thing for like Chuck Liddell lost to Rashad Evans, and you could tell it was the quietest crowd ever, and everyone was depressed because their hero got beat. But it was a little different down there, wasn't it? Like almost kind of a scary atmosphere when Kimbo went down.
Oh, you could hear a pin drop. It was very quiet, and I think everybody was shocked. Not so much that he lost, but maybe how he lost, the fashion, the hit that he took. Everybody was quiet, To say something about Kimbo, he handled it very tastefully. The post-fight press conference, he was very classy. He showed good sportsmanship. I don't know what's happened since then, but I thought he handled it with much grace and very respectful to his opponent.
Well, you know what's funny out of this, what's coming out of this, and I love MMA people because there's no filter. Unfortunately, that's also a negative because Seth Petrozelli's come out and said that, he was told to fight a certain way. Now he's come out and said that his wife was being threatened by Kimbo people. I'm not saying he's lying in either case, but that is not good. As that gets more and more widespread, I'll tell you this. At Yahoo, the numbers that we're getting, this stuff's going out front. So all of a sudden you have a whole new audience who are reading about MMA, and they think this is normal. Guys being, women being threatened, and I don't know. You didn't see any of that happen, though, or did you see anything at the press conference? Was it that wacky?
No, the press conference was not wacky. The weigh-ins were wacky. There was a few scraps that I thought were going to take care of themselves before Saturday night. The Kimbo and Ken pushed Kimbo. That kind of surprised everybody. Jake Shields, him and his opponent, they got into some words and throwing water at each other behind the scenes. It is unfortunate. We're trying, and some of us are working so hard to build this sport and bring in the mainstream sponsors and be credible and promote these guys as true professional athletes, not as thugs, not as street fighters. And unfortunately, when that stuff happens, it kind of works against us. And we take 2 steps forward, and now we're taking 4 steps back. So,
do you have sponsors actually say that it's human cockfighting, and I don't like what I've seen, and kind of reference some of this stuff?
We do, unfortunately. When we try to go and approach and talk to the mainstream sponsors, they just won't get on board yet because of some of the unfortunate incidences that have taken place in some of these previous cards. They don't want to get frowned upon by, all the corporate guys who maybe don't follow the sport and don't understand it yet. It's still an education process, and not everybody has been aware of all the drama that's going on. But like you said, word travels fast, and it seems like when they do hear that, they really shy away.
You had a chance to talk to Randy, I'm sure, your husband. What was his reaction to the way the card went down and kind of all the negative attention it's getting now? Especially the fact that he's back in the UFC, it affects the UFC.
Yeah, I think he thinks the same as me. It's unfortunate that things have to come down to that. He's glad that he wasn't there now. I think he was more surprised by Ken not being able to fight. He really wasn't sure how that all went down, nor am I. But, that was kind of bizarre. We don't really know what went on with that. But
let me cut you off for a second, because I find that interesting, because we were getting on the promoters for alleging that there was something fishy there, but that's actually a common thought among the fighters that, hey, how did he get the cut? Why didn't he super glue it? Why did he back out? I thought it was a legit reason, but a lot of you guys in the fight business are a little skeptical.
Well, no, what we heard, and like you said, when you hear things second and third hand, you don't know what to believe. But, we heard that he was warming up or training that morning, the morning of the fight, which nobody does that. When you get to the fight and when you get to the weigh-ins, the hay's in the barn and your work is all done. You're supposed to relax. You're supposed to let your body heal. You're supposed to come out that night of the fight fresh and ready to go. And if he really was training or warming up first thing in that morning, that just really doesn't make sense. And I don't know, like I said, if that was true, but I hope it's not, because it's not really the correct way to do things leading into a fight. But I guess the cut was severe enough that the glue wouldn't have worked. Stitches definitely wouldn't. The ringside judges would not have approved that for that fight that night.